So then, folks, there we have it. On a Saturday, we're talking about the finale of the World Rally Championship for 2025. And where do I begin? I think I have to begin with the world champion, don't I? By a handful of points, Sebastian Ogier, 9-time World Rally Champion. A first World Championship for his co-driver, Vincent Londet. And I think it makes Ogier the third world champion to be champion with different co-drivers. I haven't seen the Durfish graphic on it yet, but from my calculations, I think he is the third, because Tommi Mäkinen did it, and technically Juha Kankkunen did, albeit his co-drivers didn't win the world championship for 93. Yeah, because it was instead it went to Dennis Schuriday, didn't it? Or Delacour's co-driver was who it went to. But he joins an even more exclusive club, as he also then ties Sebastian Loeb for 9 world titles. And to have done it with what happened in CER, and also missing a couple of rounds. He's already confirmed that he's doing 10 rounds next year. He's missing the ones that line up with German school holidays so that he can spend time with his family. So I think that means, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it means Sweden, one of Islas Canarias or Croatia, and then most likely also Estonia and Finland. So, not ones that he's necessarily been particularly fond of, though it would be nice to see him in Spain next year for the 50th Islas Canarias, especially because of the multiple islands they're going to have next year. Could he get his 10th world title from just doing 10 rallies? He full well could. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, a deserving champion this year. And, yeah, at the same time, for Vincent Londet, congratulations on being a new world champion. As for Elfyn Evans, his title rival and teammate, for whom it is the 5th time finishing runner-up in the WRC, I do feel for him. Of course I do. 5 times in a row, well, no, not 5 times in a row, but 5 times as the runner-up is tough. But hey, it's not like it's the first time we've seen somebody have that, right? Thierry Neuville was 5 times a runner-up before his championship last year. Elfyn could come back and get the title next year. He genuinely could. He barely made a mistake all season long. The worst performances he had were a 6th in Portugal and a 4th in Greece and Finland. Oh no, he also got 6th in Estonia, didn't he? It probably hurts for him that his teammate, who the one time he didn't finish on the podium, still managed to sweep the Super Sunday, was able to take that championship. But Elfyn is relentlessly consistent. He won twice this season, and those were good wins. Sweden was a perfect score, and the Safari, I mean, it's the Safari. And I'll bundle in Kalle Rovanperä with Oid Tänak for this. The 2 world champions that are bowing out of the sport, at least for now. We are going to miss them both. We really are. Rovanperä is going to be going to Oliver Solberg, and it's going to be fascinating to see what Solberg does next year. He should pick up probably a rally win or 2 if the form from this year gets carried over. And Oid Tänak, what rotten luck he had this season. I mean, the engine failures, for example. He managed to still finish every single rally. as did, for a matter of fact, Elfyn Evans. I know Chile, it was a super rally, but nevertheless, he managed to make it to the end of all of them. And I do really feel for him with what happened in the end in Saudi. It's really bad luck, especially because it looked like he could end this into the WRC with a win. But hey, if we're talking about drivers that could have won Rally Saudi Arabia, there are another couple of drivers that definitely need a mention. There are 3 young drivers that need a mention who were all going for their first win, and one of them still their first podium. The most recent podium finisher, Sami Pairi, who managed to get through a lot of it and then mechanical issues, well, punches. Martin Sesks, whose double puncher whilst leading on the penultimate stage, he was leading the rally, meant that there were engine issues that forced him to retire. He didn't even make it to the end of the event. He was the only Rally 1 car that retired from the rally. And then there's Adrian Formeau, which is the most unfortunate of the lot. I really feel for Adrian with it. Because had it not been for that 1 minute penalty that he picked up for checking in a minute too early at the time control, he would have won. And I would have gotten 2 of my predictions instead of 1 for a number of rally winners and for Formeau getting his first win. But it wasn't to be. Instead, the win went the way of Thierry Neuville, and Neuville did really well. He deserved the win in the end, and he came back from his own issues earlier in the event as well. A broken damper, wasn't it? Broken dampers over the course of Friday. So he came back from his own issues and climbed up the order and won. He very nearly became the first champion since Richard Burns to not win in his following season. Or at least for full-timers. But that club hasn't gained another member yet, because he managed to do it at the absolute last. He got into the lead this morning, didn't really look back. And yeah, deserves a win. It's been a tough season for Neuville, who's just come off the back of, wasn't it 2 retirements to get that win? It's been a torrid title defence for Thierry. But for himself and Martin Vidager, they can go into the off-season looking forward to next season, having been the most recent rally winners. Elsewhere, Oliver Solberg got into the top 10, and Nasser Al Attiyah finished in 15th place for the top-seeded non-manufacturer entries. Taka Katsuta as well wasn't entered for manufacturer points. He got a top 5. He's good at these rallies. He's good at the Safari. WRC2 went the way of Gus Greensmith from Nikolai Kryazhin by 35.4 seconds, and Verveer rounded out the podium. I did say it, didn't I, before the event? Greensmith great in the Safari, and he was good here as well. It's a good rally for the Skodas. I mean, at the same time, Oliver Solberg was a minute and a half clear of Greensmith, but Oliver Solberg is just going out there to be as fast as he can. Just outside of there was Diego Dominguez Jr., which is a good end to the season, one where he tried to get JWRC, retain his WRC3 and WRC2, but was unsuccessful. However, the Rally 3 champion, the WRC3 champion, Matteo Fontana, had an absolutely dominant display. In terms of how dominant it was, Naveen Pelikula, who was second place in WRC3, was 38 minutes and 43.9 seconds behind. The podium was rounded out by Saeed Al Mouri, who was 46 minutes, 41.4 seconds behind. Yeah, it was really well done by Fontana. A nice way to round out the title crown winning season. But let's briefly talk Rally Saudi Arabia, because lots of drivers, lots of fans have had lots of thoughts. In fact, Rovanperä's stage end comments were ones that were heard around the world in case he falls foul of FIA fines. But let's talk about it briefly, because, well, it is an interesting thing. I think in the context of wider criticisms and the trend of sports washing, Saudi Arabia is seen as the people who do it biggest and best. This WRC event's on a 10-year contract. It's never been seen before in the WRC. 10 years. Especially because it's coming up as the season finale. This first event didn't exist 12 months ago. Usually WRC events, they have the candidate event a year prior. Heck, Rally Estonia, its candidate event, took multiple years. They had multiple Shell Helix Rally Estonias that served as a very fast shakedown and pre-event test for Rally Finland. But, yeah. In terms of the actual first Saudi rally, it was part of the MERC. Nasser Al-Attiyah won it. But we didn't really know much more about it. And then they tried to go far and perhaps went too far. The Wadi Al Matwi test, stages 11 and 14, got shortened because the drivers said that it was too dangerous. Because you had a fast section near the end with a massive drop. Some of them were saying up to 100 metres over rocks. The stage was so rough. How many punches did we pick up? You can't necessarily blame Hankook for that, because when they were building the tyre specification for this season, they didn't know what Rally Saudi Arabia would look like, because there was no candidate event. There was no data to go off of for it. They could have full well bought something that would be more suited for the Dakar, and that wouldn't have worked because it would be too rough. Or they could have brought something that was more suited to something like Jordan, which it wouldn't be able to deal with necessarily the same slower sections. The Safari tyre wouldn't necessarily work the same if they had a specialist tyre for the Safari. But it is the FIA. And one of the things that caught me out when I was preparing for this ages ago was that I thought, hang on, have I got the weekends wrong? Because it seems like it ends the Saturday. Because I knew next year's one did. I went, hang on, does this year's one? And it turned out that it did. But in the original publication of the calendar, it went on the traditional Friday to Sunday. Or Thursday night to Sunday. It got changed mid-season. And, I know it's for local customs. But heck, 95, doesn't that end on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for the RAC? My criticism of it is when you sign up a new event on a 10-year plan with it coming up at the end of the season, and it's not even had a demo run. I mean, there have been worse organised events in the World Championship. There definitely have been. Especially in recent years as well. There have been. We didn't have, I love Rally Japan, but wasn't it the first edition we ended up seeing somebody coming across? Luckily, the stage had been red flagged by this point, but some random civilian just driving on the stage? I think it was someone like Lindholm had that issue. But when it's a rally that's so purpose-built, to have your super special stage, it looked alright, but it was in a car park. Welcome back, Caesar's Palace Grand Prix, for the Jamil Motorsport Super Special. If you wanted to do construction like that, just make a Super Special out of the F1 track. You already modified enough for Formula E and you masquerade as a street circuit. Do something like that instead. It's really tough because, for me, I wish money was no object for motorsport, because then we could have Rally GB as a finale. I miss Rally GB. I was so glad that I got to go in 2019. It doesn't have to be the finale every year. When I went, it was the third to last round, which became the second to last round because of the cancellation of Rally Australia when the crews had already arrived. But, yeah. I do miss Rally GB. It doesn't have to be a European finale. I loved when Australia was the finale. I also enjoy when we had Spain as a finale. Just so happens that, yeah, I mean, I even enjoyed Japan when it's been the finale, but it just happens that most of the time, for the time I've been alive, it has been Wales. I feel like the WRC could take a very interesting turn in the next couple of years. And I'm nervous as a fan to see how one of my favourite series that I've been following almost quite literally my whole life turns out. I am interested to see, from somebody who's interested in geopolitics, someone who's interested in the world, where it all turns out. Anyways, folks, that's that for this video, and that's that for WRC in 2025. As always, thanks a bunch for watching, joining, tuning in, following, and thanks again for following me through this season, especially if you've been sticking around the whole season. I will cover the WRC in 2026. I already have that in my schedule, and I'm really looking forward to it. So as always, thank you so much for watching and joining. Thank you for all of your support. And until next time, it's bye-bye for now.